I have been going to Tupelo Smiles my whole life. When I was a kid, I was unhappy about some uneven coloring on my teeth after getting my braces off, which at the time there really wasn't a fix. I was recently made aware of a solution that would totally fix it, which is exactly what we did. They not only heard my concerns, but they never stopped looking to solve my problem, and that's why I love Tupelo Smiles.
Mississippi's trusted weather experts. This is Mississippi Live Weather at 6.
Well, hello there. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lopon. Thank you so much for joining us for Mississippi Live Weather at 6. I am live here in Tupelo at what Tupelo natives mythologically refer to as the coldest place on planet Earth, which is the soccer fields at Ballard Park. My son's going to be playing a soccer game here, and I just wanted to, on this beautiful night, come out and enjoy that. I know a lot of other folks are doing that as kind of the spring soccer season starting to kick back off, not just here in Tupelo, but a lot of locations here across North Mississippi. And so if you're going to be venturing out and about this evening, it's a beautiful sunset, that is for sure, as far as that is concerned. Some of the things we'll be looking forward to over the course of this evening. Again, perfect weather to get outside, as is already evidence. A little bit cool, though, from time to time. My daughter has told me it's chilly. That's why we tell you to wear a jacket. I have mine over there just in case. I'm sure she's going to end up cuddling up in that there. But burn bans are expanding. And unfortunately, that means more and more locations where it's just something we need to be trying to avoid. We're tracking strong storm potential as well in the extended forecast. We're going to look at the threat over the course of the week. We're going to look at the components I think hopefully will keep it out of the forecast for a lot of us. That's coming up here in a couple minutes with our meteorologist, Gabe and myself, kind of looking more detail at that. But over the first 12, we're 69 degrees at 765 as we look toward 10 p.m. tonight. These clouds probably aren't going to bring much in the way of any sort of meaningful precipitation out there, but not an impossibility to get sprinkled for some spots. Honestly, overnight, more than a sprinkle, it's just moisture coming up from Mexico that will help to kind of produce from time to time a drizzle that we could contend with there. But again, looking at the temperatures outside right now, I alluded to this a minute ago, that breeze always a little cool out here at the park. But then again, as you'll notice, one of the reasons why I think mythologically speaking, everyone always says it's so cool, there's just nothing to stop the breeze. And I think we're so spoiled here in Mississippi to always have some trees there to break a little bit of the wind. There's always a breeze out here. And so that breeze at about 9 to 10 miles per hour certainly has kind of a cool sort of feel to it from time to time as well. One location where conditions are also looking pretty nice this evening is down there in Hattiesburg as we show up with our camera there. You know, we don't show this one very often. It had some puffy clouds earlier, and as the sun has set, those have settled on out there, 75 in the Hattiesburg area. Of course, the reason we're looking down there, Mississippi State is taking on Southern Miss tonight. The first pitch was at 6 p.m. with those temperatures in the low 70s. We expect it'll be probably mid 60s by the conclusion of the game. Again, expected to be a pretty none for some baseball. That midweek series and all of our SEC baseball forecast brought to you by the good folks there at Carl Hogan Toyota. A 6:30 first pitch in Oxford this evening, taking on Memphis. And that forecast looks good as well as we stay mostly clear and, again, keeping those temperatures somewhere in the middle 60s as we head through the evening tonight. And in Oxford, our camera brought to you by Phoenix Building Solutions there. Showing up with a beautiful glow as that sun has now gone just a little bit below the horizon at this time. Temperature in the Oxford area coming in right around 75 degrees. So these high thin clouds I talked about a minute ago behind me, mid to upper level moisture, all kind of coming off of this storm system, as you can see, back toward the west of us, out toward the plains. This is going to bring multiple days of severe weather threats for locations out that direction there, but largely will stay west of us until maybe the weekend, and hopefully stays west of us all together and all told. But as you can see here, just ahead of that, it's mainly dry. We do show one or two little blips down there toward New Orleans, a sign of some lower level cloud cover that's going to kind of come up with some moisture that tries to move in later on tonight. As you can see on Futurecast, not seeing a whole lot of significance out there, though we do have one or two little bits of green showing up there toward Jackson, back out toward Vicksburg and out toward Yazoo City. More of that low cloud cover, again, building up overnight, becomes fairly widespread by 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. Again, for most of us, this is just cloudy skies, but for a few of us, it could add up to maybe just a little bit of drizzle. But I think that's probably more the exception to the rule. So 58, that temperature at 6 o'clock in the morning, 75 degrees by noontime. Ooh, Mr. Maynor, here's a question that we will discuss after the commercial break here is whether or not that cloud cover is thick enough to hold that temperature down. Now, you remember, I believe it was last week. No, it might have been a week before that. We kind of got stuck in the clouds for a few days. I'm interested to see whether or not that could become our future this week if that cloud cover is thick enough. We will say 80 degrees. That assumes some sunshine. But if we get stuck with just widespread cloud cover, maybe it holds it a degree or two below that factor. Gabe and I will talk about that coming up here in 60 seconds as Mississippi Live weather continues here from the mobile room-to-room weather center. We'll also be looking ahead at those burn bans with the breezy conditions, with the dry weather. Those burning conditions obviously always a concern. We'll talk about that coming up here in 60 seconds, live from the soccer fields at Ballard Park on just an absolutely gorgeous evening. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lawpon. We'll see you right after this.
Look at Wanda, ready to rock her big presentation. But first, lunch. Sweet Pepper's Deli. Delicious, celebratory, but is it quick? The Cobb salad. Tender oven-roasted chicken, topped with cheese. Prepared, plated, and served? In 6 minutes? Is this for real? Well, of course. Well done, Wanda. Sweet Pepper's Deli. Yes, ma'am. Life is sweet.
I felt accomplished after I got my diploma. It made me feel that I could take on whatever challenges life throws at you.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
By the time you see the symptoms of lung cancer, it could be too late. Now there's a new scan that can detect lung cancer early. If you smoked, get scanned.
This portion of Mississippi Live Weather is presented by Little's Jewelers.
Right now, from the Room to Room Weather Center, here's Mississippi's Chief Meteorologist, Matt Lawpon.
Well, back to the soccer fields here at Ballard Park. I'll just Matt Lawpon on just a beautiful evening. You see those high thin clouds have made for just a great shot behind me over the course of the last few minutes. As we talked about, the dry weather certainly has helped out, as those are just made up of high ice crystals floating through the sky this evening. No precipitation anywhere near the ground with those. And our meteorologist, Gabe Maynor, again, back here in the studio this evening. And one of the things, again, Gabe is going to be talking more about over the course of this evening is some of those burn bans that we do have in place there that have kind of been expanded. I heard some clapping. Maybe that was a goal. Love to see that here in a second. But Gabe is kind of bring up the double boxes on that. Burn bans always kind of sign, the drought conditions that we've been talking about recently, unfortunately still expanding there. But what are you looking at here as of this time period?
Well, some of the burn bans getting extended, unfortunately, as we get into the early March outlooks and, of course, our wet season, Matt. This is when we need some of that rainfall. So those storms, while they are negative in regards to how we feel about some of that severe weather, they are bringing a big thing that we need here in North Mississippi with that rainfall. So appreciate you out there tracking those live conditions, and we'll be back with you here shortly. But yes, burn bans is the story. And as we bring it back here to the Room to Room Weather Center, that is going to be what we're watching in more detail. So getting a look out in Ackerman tonight, 75 degrees. Those dew points still in the low 60s. That is a little bit up from where we were sitting at this time yesterday, meaning that moisture is rebuilding here in the North Mississippi area, but that unfortunately is not going to be producing rainfall for a large part of us, at least not for the next couple of days. And so what that means is out in Ackerman, even out in Amory, where we are getting some of those controlled burns, that's where we could get some of these hazy conditions in the skies with those smoke plumes getting up into basically those radar beams that are scanning across the area. And we'll look at that here in just a moment. 73 degrees though, Amory, low 60s where those dew points stand as well. And then 72 in Macon. Again, you get a bit of that haze where some of those smoke plumes have gotten a little bit more elevated. And that's why these burn bans are, of course, a concern, is because it is such a dry environment. As of right now, Winston County is our lone county in the North Mississippi area that is under a burn ban, and that is until early April. But expanding things out, you can see that we do have additional counties developing in southwest Mississippi, and I told you guys, you get the shockwave effect from the southwest part of Mississippi that will expand across the entire Magnolia State if these dry conditions do persist. For a large part of us, they will, unfortunately, all the way into the weekend. And so that drought monitor, those burn bans, not exactly something we're looking forward to seeing as we get further into this week. Taking a look at our Mama Justice Doppler radar, not tracking anything in regards to rainfall. But if I put this on a loop, and we will have to take it to analysis mode real quick to show this off, you can see that we have gotten a few of those elevated plumes. And so as you get a look right there, you can see some of these streaks that happen. That one just on the west side of Oktibbeha County, even down there towards Macon. You basically get these streaks coming off in Monroe County. Like I mentioned, Amory seeing a bit of that as well. So, and even, yes, right there, Itawamba County getting a bit. So everyone's trying to burn, everyone's trying to clear that debris, and we expect those to continue into later tonight, but even into the rest of this week with the rainfall being further out towards our west. Day planner this evening, perfect for heading to the soccer fields. Join our Chief Meteorologist Matt Lawpon in doing so. 67 degrees by 8, 65 there by 10, and 63 by midnight. Those breezy conditions out of the south, that'll make it feel a little bit cool, but are we talking about the cold that we had a month ago? No, we're starting to transition into the spring season, so while it is going to be cool, it is not cold, and we are definitely grateful for that in the North Mississippi area. Futurecast shows those southerly winds still in the forecast, and that little bit of cloud cover that we do see, but those are going to be in the form of high-end cirrus clouds, not exactly blanketing our sky during those early evening and early overnight hours. So as we get into the Wednesday morning time frame, you can see how some of those low-lying clouds that Matt was talking about build into North Mississippi, and even a little bit of potential fog developing as well. But those breezy conditions, go ahead and let me know, that fog is going to be a little bit hard to find when we're talking about that Wednesday morning forecast. But that moisture in the form of cloud cover does end up producing a few showers out there in the Delta early on your Wednesday morning, but we are not talking about impactful rainfall. This just remaining a light shower, and even then only going to last about 10 to 15 minutes before it continues to move to its next city. Low temperatures, of course, a bit more mild out there towards Cleveland, Clarksdale, and Greenville because of that moisture that's building in a little bit sooner. But as we get further east, we're seeing 59 Amory, 58 Columbus, and 57 Aliceville. That's definitely a good forecast, especially for this time of year. Your school bus forecast, 59 around pickup and 80 degrees by drop-off. Still with those partly cloudy skies, looking like a beautiful forecast. So get out there to enjoy it. Once that bus does drop you off, I think you're going to enjoy what you have in store for your Wednesday. So zooming things out, we can see that this low pressure center is driving our weather pattern, keeping all of the storms and all of the showers primarily out there towards Oklahoma, Texas, and Missouri. But what we're in right here is the warm sector, and that warm sector has these southerly winds building into North Mississippi, and that's going to allow the moisture to stick around, which means our mild temperatures stick around, which means we also have some chances of isolated showers. So by late morning, you can see some of these greens just building in very sporadically over the Magnolia State, and those getting into North Mississippi as well. So as we continue that forecast, and I turned down a scam call, we are going to continue to see those showers build in by the afternoon hours. So let's go ahead and bring it back into North Mississippi. That frontal system staying well off towards our west, but we are getting some of these brief showers developing on the mid to late afternoon time frame of our Wednesday, but even those not looking overly impactful. But you do see some of these reds that start to develop, and this was showing up on our late model runs last night. Not going to be severe storms, but we could get a brief heavy rainfall and maybe even a rumble of thunder or two as we get further into our Wednesday afternoon. But that shows that unstable air that we'll look at in just a moment that is in the North Mississippi area. 80 degrees New Albany, Tupelo, 81 Amory and Columbus. We're 82 Starkville and Eupora. So a great forecast out there, and going to be a great forecast heading throughout all of this week as that warm air does reign supreme. So into our Wednesday night, we are staying on the mostly dry side, still with those isolated showers trying to filter into North Mississippi. As we get further into the 10 o'clock hour, still getting some of those chances, but as we head further overnight, I do expect a drier forecast to build into the North Mississippi area. This is very summer-like in regards to the pattern that we're in, because we have the warm air, we have the moisture, and that means whenever you reach the peak heating of the afternoon, that's where those chances really flare up. By the time we get towards those overnight hours, those chances diminish, and we're basically left with a dry pattern. So as we get more into our Thursday, we're starting out the day dry once again, but by the time the day goes on and we get into the afternoon, then we get those chances back into our afternoon time frame. So low temperatures Thursday morning were 64 South Haven and Tunica, 60 Eupora, Houston, and Starkville, were 58 Macon, and 59 Kosciuszko and Louisville. So as we head about our Thursday, it is going to be warm. A few breaks here and there that warm up our skies, warm up our atmosphere, and that allows for those temperatures to climb back into the 80s once again. But as we get more into that mid to late morning, take a look. Those clouds building in more and more, and potentially a few of those showers as well. This is going to be a result of this system. Again, the system that's bringing the severe weather threat off there towards our west. That will dip into northwest Tennessee, but not exactly getting all the way into North Mississippi. So those chances still very limited, but we are expecting at least some limited potential by the afternoon that we do get some of those showers taking place. Let's zoom it out once again, because what you're getting is another system starting to develop all the way out there towards Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas. And with that comes another severe weather threat, and that severe weather threat going to primarily be towards our west. But as the days go on, and we're talking Saturday, we're talking Sunday, that's where we could see some development here in North Mississippi and some of those storms on the stronger side once again. So bringing it back into the North Mississippi area, 80 degrees in Oxford, we're 80 Holly Springs, 82 New Albany, 79 Cleveland and Clarksdale, and 82 Greenwood and Grenada. So it is still going to be warm. It is still going to be mostly dry on Thursday, but then the chances start to climb. Friday, 20%, but then Saturday and Sunday, go ahead and circle your weekend forecast, because it is going to be an active pattern with some showers and storms moving into North Mississippi as that next frontal system, the one that we just tracked a moment ago, moves into North Mississippi, bringing those showers and storms all the way over here. Now, with those storms, some of those are going to attempt to be on the stronger side, and that's what we're going to be going over in a little bit more detail, is just what ingredients are in place to allow those to happen? What are some of the limiting factors that are maybe not allowing it to happen, and how that's going to play out this week? We're going to look at that with our instability, with our future cast, with our strike model, all of that coming up here for Mississippi Live Weather in the next 60.
The bravest thing that my dad has done has been going back to school.
It wasn't when he first enlisted, it was when he found his first support group.
The bravest thing she did is when she asked for help.
Welcome back to Mississippi Live Weather. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lawpon here at the soccer fields at Ballard Park, as the soccer has returned here to North Mississippi. And my son's out there doing a little soccer, playing. Anyway, I'm going to bring Gabe back in here for a moment, because one of the things we're talking about with Gabe, and Gabe, I want to kind of come back and forth in here if we can from time to time over the course of this block, as you kind of can bring it from like the 2 box to the 1 box back and forth. We talk about the severe weather chances next couple of days. We're hoping that that becomes a non-factor, though, for some of the SEC baseball forecasts, right, Gabe?
Good job, buddy.
Yes, I was navigating Stream Deck, so I apologize. And I also had to come over to our room-to-room weather center, so kind of navigating that, Matt. But yes, you're exactly right. We're navigating storms as we head through this week, and that could potentially be on the stronger side by this weekend. But there are still some questions, which is a good thing for 4 days out.
Absolutely, but I think that, fuel looks like there could be enough time for it to get some of that in here, right?
For sure, and the timing shifting, that's kind of
yes.
where
we'll
where
talk
it
more
catches
about
our
that in a
attention.
second. I don't want to jump past the graphics you have up and ready first, though.
I got you. Yes. Well, what we're talking about now, and big shout out to the Starkville Yellow Jackets, the girls basketball team headed to the 7A state championship, just defeating Biloxi 41-34. So that's one of our area teams. But earlier today, we actually had Tishomingo County and Louisville, I believe off the top of my head, they are playing for the 4A Girls State Championship heading into, I believe, Friday. So another couple of area teams, and I know our Ethan Foster, who is a Tish County fanatic, is very thrilled about that. So,
Well, I mean, we got to see both this last weekend or last Friday night. There, both had had obviously good fan showing and some pretty good games. So, really excited to kind of see how that one ends up playing out.
for sure. And let me say this. So I have actually been watching high school basketball all day long. Mississippi has made me fall in love with high school athletics all over again. So it's the best of the best when it comes to sports. Well, Kosciuszko, I know they lost by 2 today, the boys team. My word, if you have not seen the video, they were down 3 at the end of regulation. And I forget who it was, basically crosses over at the half court line, throws up a prayer and sinks it to go into overtime. A half court heat. Unreal. And
Kosciuszko was so good last week when we watched them. And the second half in particular, just against Rosa Fort, was incredible.
I mean, it's a heartbreaker for sure, but you know that's going to be something he tells his kids about later on of, hey, let me tell you how in the state semifinals, I had a half-court shot to tie the game. Just a great season from the Whippets, all things considered, and excited to see, who comes out on top. But our North Mississippi teams, even if they did not come away with a win, we are very proud of you guys here at Mississippi Live Weather. So, Matt, 2A and 3A do tip off tomorrow, and so that's what this forecast is highlighting. And East Union is representing, as well as our Boonville schools. So 2 schools very close to the Maynard household.
Absolutely. Let's take a look at that forecast.
Yes, so bringing it back in here to the room-to-room weather center, we can kind of see that we are going to see a great forecast all the way down there in Jackson. 9 a.m., 70 degrees. That's when the 2A action tips off. And as the day goes on, I have to put rough time frames because folks down there at Jackson know the schedule's there, but the schedule is not followed beyond game 1. So 70 degrees by 9 a.m., 78 by noon, and 81 by 3 p.m. Know a few folks that are on my side that are heading down there and do have some safe travels, but you should have great weather conditions to enjoy along the way, even early in the morning. I mean, 70 degrees at 9 a.m. Can't really ask for much better for the start of March. As we take a look at our futurecast, though, that's where we're kind of talking about the storm potential getting into this week. And I'll walk through our futurecast, but then I'll bring in our chief meteorologist, Matt Lopon, so we can talk more in detail about this coming up here in just a moment. So as we take a look, this is Thursday afternoon. And basically what this red is highlighting is some of that unstable air that is in North Mississippi. And as you can see, by the afternoon, we do still have some of that unstable air over the top of us that's going to allow for some of those isolated showers to occur. I was talking to our meteorologist, Caleb Edelbluth, the other day, and we were talking about some of our former professors and how what they always told me was thunderstorms need 2 things to form. They need moisture and they need heat. And we have both of those in North Mississippi quite often, and that's why when we reach the peak heating of the afternoon, we are getting some of these rain chances developing here in North Mississippi. Now, nothing extreme, nothing severe, nothing even strong. We could have a rumble of thunder, but that's really the extent that we'll go for these rain chances. Once we get more into our Friday night, we're basically calming things down ahead of our Saturday morning. And this is where the timing of this front is going to matter, because you notice what I told you. By the afternoon, that's where our storm chances start to increase, and of course, that's where we could get the most unstable air. So if this were to be delayed by about 4 to 6 hours, then we're looking at a different story with a little bit of a more primed environment. By the time it's moving into the area, this is 9 a.m. on our Saturday, already basically right along the Natchez Trace corridor where that unstable air towards Golden Triangle still exists. But for Northwest Mississippi, I don't believe that we're going to be tracking anything overly strong because we just don't exactly have that time frame for it to happen. Now, we could see some sub-severe impactful storms, but based off what I'm looking at right now, I'm not overly impressed. But by lunchtime, you can see how that does extend closer to the Golden Triangle, but we do have basically this northwest to southeast directional flow, and that's where we could see some of that severe weather, some of those strong storms down there towards Starkville and Columbus by noontime. Now this is where it lines up a little bit better, and you can see if we push it down a little bit towards the south, those brighter oranges showing that there's more unstable air, and that's where we could get some of those strong storms out ahead of this system as well. If we're looking at those individual risks, Tuesday remaining up there towards Oklahoma City and Springfield, Missouri. But as we get closer to Wednesday, that's where that frontal system will start to shift a little bit more towards the east. Not far from us, we're about 30 miles away from North Mississippi, but not expecting any strong to severe storms here in the North Mississippi area. That next system that we were talking about on Futurecast a moment ago, out there towards Lubbock, Oklahoma City, and Wichita, that will gradually work its way east as well, with that level 3 threat highlighted towards Oklahoma City, all the way north into Kansas City. Level 2 threat just outside of the Little Rock area. But by Saturday, no threat, and by Sunday, no threat either. And we're hopeful that that continues to be the case, but we are definitely keeping eyes on this as we get further into the forecast, because the potential is there for at least a couple of strong storms. But there are still a lot of questions. Main one being upper air
Let's go
support.
back. Go back to the Cape and precip model that you had a minute ago there, if you could.
Okay,
And then we need to go wider on that. That's fine. Because one of the things I was looking at there, I just want to see how much fuel is pooling ahead of that, and kind of the angle that that front is coming in. I think a lot of times the angle of the front makes a huge difference in this scenario.
All right. So let me go off screen here real quick and expand it out.
Okay. And actually, here's what we do. If you click the button where it puts it reality over the live shot, that would have my voice over top of that, and it would take it full screen over top of me as well. And then we can kind of widen it out from there.
I'll be honest.
Reality over the live shot should take care of that.
Is that on Stream Deck or is that on the system?
Yeah, it'd be on Stream Deck. Yeah.
Okay. Is it on your file?
Yeah. Yeah, sure. Yeah. When you look at my live shot, you have the just pure live shot. Yeah. There we go. Okay. So this is kind of what we're looking at there. And so Gabe will pop his mic up on this here in a minute. Okay. So we want to go well beyond Thursday here. I want to look particular, we start looking at Friday. You can see look at all that yellow back west. Okay. So this is Thursday evening. Compare what you see there where you have back for Oklahoma versus what we don't have here. We're kind of in the brownish, sort of dark red colors. By Friday, yeah, there's still more of those yellows showing up. That's where we have that fuel in Louisiana back there toward Oklahoma, and keep on going with it there for a moment. Because what you'll notice is as we head toward the afternoon and into the evening there and overnight, there's just not as much. Now, let's stop it here for a second. Now, we're early Saturday morning. Notice we do have fuel. We have the open Gulf right here. And the other thing that, you have to, when you're looking for ingredients for severe weather, yeah, you have to have the heating, you have to have the moisture, but you have to have the lift. And that's where this front comes in. That's what kind of focuses any sort of storms and tries to get them to go. Okay, so notice how the lift finally gets here, but we have very limited amounts of instability. Now, advance this here into Saturday a little bit. The strike model, again, as far out as we can show you, the very fact, honestly, that we can be sitting at Tuesday and showing you instability on Saturday is something that we've never had access to before. So still learning how best to apply this. But as we stop this here for midday on Saturday, notice how you do get some spots where we have more of those yellows starting to show up. It's more central Mississippi, but the angle on the front is important here because we widen it just a little bit more. You'll notice that the angle is very kind of northeast or east-northeast to southwest or west-southwest. That's kind of very east-west sort of orientation typically is not a very aggressive one when we talk about storms. You have to have a perfect upper-level trough to get storms to kind of cut through on that. I just don't know that that will be the case. Gabe, do we have a version of Futurecast where we can pull up one of the, even if we just have to kind of thumb through it just by dragging it through? I'm looking for Jetstream on this if we could, maybe a Jetstream model.
Here, let me go back to you live.
Let's go ahead and do that. Give me a
Let me go live to you for a second. I'll pull that
that's
up.
fine. That's fine. Kind of make it all cleaned up there. Appreciate that. Again, you're watching Mississippi Live Weather here at 6. One of the things we're kind of debating looking toward this next weekend is how our storm chances are going to play out. There's going to be an active weather for severe weather on the plains. They have all the components there from multiple rounds of severe weather. A lot of times those systems end up being a little tapped out by the time they get here this time of year. And I just say that as in typically the upper levels of the atmosphere have to be aimed just right to produce severe weather, especially significant severe weather, with them very much aimed out toward the plains throughout much of this week. I think the upper levels in particular could be somewhat lacking by the time this system gets in here. So I could see it back there behind the screen's ready to go. And so we'll look at that kind of combination here, the upper level winds. That's what we're looking at there aloft. So this is Thursday, this is Friday. Now stop that for a second there. So you'll notice up there toward, if you can, go back, if we can kind of re-rack this here for a moment. Okay, so yeah, we're back to Wednesday. And if you can, double check, make sure my orientation, let's go and stop it right there. So see how it's kind of southwest flow aloft, like you have the trough back there toward that dip toward Denver, Colorado, and then everything kind of slants from southwest to northeast there through the plains. That's an angle that everything is kind of good for development on thunderstorms. Okay, now advance this. You'll see how that becomes tightly wound, and it just kind of picks up and heads more towards Chicago there. See, it becomes kind of a closed low, kind of an O there near Omaha showing up. That's kind of the closed low on this system. And that's what helps to kind of power some of those thunderstorms on kind of that first wave there. Now let's advance this through Friday here. You'll see that instability coming up, and there's a next storm system, another storm system that kind of approaches us by them. But notice here, as we go toward Friday, it's all way to the north and west. Go wider on this, Gabe. It's what we call a long wave trough, because you'll see it extends a long ways all the way from Winnipeg, Canada, up there, Calgary, Canada, back towards San Diego. That is not a short wave. That is a long wave there. Okay, so as we advance this into Friday night and into Saturday, all the stronger winds aloft are west and northwest of us, kind of a non-factor. So that's part of why we could have thunderstorms. Most should be below severe limits. The upper levels just aren't aimed at us. Okay, now we're going to advance this. We're going to keep it going through Sunday and the Monday and Tuesday as we kind of show that upper level storm system there. As it gets, just kind of sits there spinning back toward the western United States. It starts to eject somewhere next week. But notice how as we get there toward Wednesday, maybe Thursday, it really kind of kicks up some of those strong winds. We'll pause it here again, look at toward late Thursday. That's more of a setup for us. If we have some fuel that gets up in here, this would be more the time frame. Wednesday, Thursday of not this week, but next week. Or maybe we could have more of those stronger thunderstorms that get going by then. So I think, Gabe, looking at this over the next few days here and into next week, I think that's when we have more of the storm chances that could become more of a factor for us. I think we'll bring it back here to kind of that two-shot where we'll talk about this, and we'll probably kind of wrap things up. I think one of the headlines is looking toward this upcoming weekend. Are we going to have some rain showers and thunderstorms? Yes. Will that then impact maybe SEC baseball? Yes. But severe weather on Saturday, we'll see. But it's not necessarily a severe weather setup.
Yeah, and there are still a lot of questions. And main thing looking at it was always just the upper wind. So that's a good thing this far out. And that lack of confidence also aligning with what the Storm Prediction Center is saying. Not impossible. We get a marginal risk as we get further into Thursday, Friday, potentially even into Saturday. But there is still some things that could line up ahead of time. But as of right now, not overly impressed, but not impossible that we could get some of those thunderstorms here in North Mississippi. So Matt, thank you so much. Enjoy the game. Tell Leo good luck from us here in North Mississippi, and he will do a great job. And excited to, you know what? We need to get some of Leo's highlights in here as well to add to what is already a stacked sports arsenal here in the Room to Room Weather Center. So checking in on our SEC baseball forecast. Friday, 83 degrees, still with partly cloudy skies. But getting into Saturday and Sunday, that's where we could see some of those showers and storms linger, potentially causing issues whenever we're talking about those game times for the Bulldogs. They're going to be taking on Lipscomb, so it should be a little bit more chill getting into this weekend. So that's a good time to head over to the Dude and take it easy and enjoy some good times, good friends, good food, everything there at Dudy Noble Stadium. And as we take a look over there for the Rebels, I apologize, didn't bring my clicker over there. But going ahead and looking at that forecast, you can see that we are going to be a similar forecast as the Rebels take on Evansville. 83 degrees Friday, 77 Saturday, and 72 there by Sunday. Again, showers and storms during the weekend going to cause some difficulties, but I think that we'll be able to have enough of a break here and there to let the games happen. But nonetheless, should be a good weekend with baseball. Should be a good Tuesday night of baseball, as Matt was talking about at the top of the show. So make sure to cheer on those Rebels and Bulldogs, and I'll try to have those scores updated for you coming up at 10 o'clock tonight. We'll also have those matchups from our 7A team, Starkville down there battling right now. Will they come out on top? Well, the girls did. Now we just need the boys to follow suit. Nonetheless, we'll have all those highlights coming up later on this evening, so make sure to keep it with Mississippi Live Weather for the very latest, and we'll keep you guys updated on anything you need to know weather-wise or sports-wise as well. Our next broadcast is going to be at 10 o'clock tonight with myself. Going to be walking through those rain chances as well as those forecasts for anyone heading to Jackson tomorrow to cheer on their 2A or 3A teams. We'll have all the latest for you coming up here in the Room to Room Weather Center at 10 o'clock. You guys have a terrific Tuesday. We'll see you then.
March 24th, 2023 was a normal Friday. You know, we knew the weather was not good, but we needed to take shelter, and we didn't have shelter. My husband and almost 2-year-old daughter, Ethan and Riley, they did lose their lives in the storm. We're still recovering from it. We'll always be recovering from it. Matt Lawpon cares about the community. He's not just there to collect a paycheck. I feel like Matt Lawpon has proven himself trustworthy.